Sony's GOAT movie. GOAT. Just GOAT. Not the GOAT. No full stops. Did you go and see this movie? Are you enticed to watch this one? Even when I covered it previously, just talking about the trailers, those videos underperformed, and it's probably quite obvious why. This, according to the promotional material, just looks to be standard, right? You get the pun, it's the GOAT that's going to become the GOAT. It's a nice Sony rendition of a Zootopia world, clearly polished with all sorts of incredible animation, since this is coming from the best current animation studio in the industry. But when it comes to the premise, when it comes to the fact that it's a sports film so you can guess the narrative, and it's bouncing off of a pretty lame pun with all the standard cliches in it, your conclusion might be, during times when you don't want to spend excess money going to a cinema experience, maybe this is the one to miss, right? If that was your first impression, that was certainly mine walking into it, you would be absolutely right. This film is fine. It's fine, you know? This is a Sony movie, and they are at the top of their game right now. They make incredible narratives, incredible visuals, and are absolutely trouncing every other studio in the world right now, clearly. And the execution for this movie is pretty damn good in one aspect. If you want a visual treat, a fantastic new animal kingdom with brilliant flourishes in cinematography, fantastic texturing work, and character animation that just keeps showing off in so many ways, then yes, absolutely, this is a brilliant visual treat. You're gonna see all sorts of smearing frames and painterly aesthetics coming right out of some other dimension in the world of Spider-Verse. The voice acting as well brings up a lot of these characters in a way that's just very well executed. Caleb McLaughlin as Will Harris does a fantastic job. Nice to see someone coming out of the Stranger Things field there. And similarly, some of the voice acting in some characters in particular I really, absolutely adore. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But the elephant in the room that we're going to have to address is the fact that narratively, writing-wise, this is an absolute puddle, you know? I don't quite want to call it a snooze fest. It is a good movie if you haven't seen movies before, but I feel like if you're a parent choosing to watch this movie with your kid, you're probably gonna want to just shut your brain off. Now, it's interesting because as a critic, I really want to bash down on all the things they don't do and all the missteps they make, but at the end of the day, this feels like more than anything a movie made for kids. They usually are, right? Animation. Sure, they're made for everybody, but this isn't made for everybody. This is made for those that want a story. It's a story you've seen before, but it's done well. You know, looking at this through the lens of this is for kids, this is a great rendition for kids. One of the best visual versions of the underdog rising through the sports rank. It covers all of the classic cliches, usually the adored cliches and less of the hated cliches, which is the best narrative praise I can give it, really. And so I would absolutely recommend this movie for kids if I didn't want to show them Space Jam instead, or something like that. But for everybody else, for general fans of animation who want to see new cinema, new films, this is not a new film. And if you can guess what the storyline is, you're probably right. Now, if there is one thing narratively that this movie does try to do differently, and it's a double-edged sword in a lot of ways, this is trying to be a modern movie, and so with that comes a lot of memes in this movie. There are all sorts of examples of terrible executions of memes in movies, like the classic cliche of a person makes a video, puts it on YouTube, and it goes viral. Yeah, that happens too. But as for them actually inventing memes and referencing memes, this film probably does better than average, but not great. I would say 50% of the memes in this movie, there are lots of memes in this movie, are fine. 50% of them do not work, and that's the best track record I've seen. They've got references to the likes of the Giga Chad face, which I think was one of my favorites that I saw. But then at the same time, it has a lot of old memes. Naturally, right? With it being a mainline produced production, everything takes years and years to get rolling, and a lot of these memes feel like they came out of 2018. Remember that old Shooting Stars meme with the song I absolutely cannot play for you but appeared in YouTube Rewind yonks ago? Yeah, that's the main meme they run with for this film as the viral video that pops them off. And maybe this movie is set in 2018, so you could excuse it. They don't say that, it's just who knows. But a lot of the memes felt dated. It just happened to be that they also picked some memes that never die, like the Giga Chad face. And even if we do take the excuse that that's just the time period of the movies, this film starts with a childhood flashback with a young Will Harris doing modern Fortnite dances years and years and years ago in the past. And then he grows up, it doesn't care. And it doesn't do it great. It's just something for the kids to see and replicate. And you know what? I think in that regard, that's fine. A little kid doing Fortnite dances makes sense to see on a movie because that's reality as well. Now, one of the other elements I really like of the narrative of this, more I like of the world building, the concept, because I don't like the concept of goat equals goat and that's it. They don't even do, like, a good execution of that. Like, they don't make a joke of it. They don't not have the term goat already, and then he becomes the guy. Like, they create the title. They never say greatest of all time. So, like, it's just, no, I'm already the goat. You can't say there's a new goat that I'm the goat, but he's a goat. That's the most they do with the titular piece of narrative concept they have. Ugh. But something I do really like, it's something near and dear to my heart in general, is its fantasy sports. I'm not crazy on sports films. You can guess the plot of every sports film. It's the same plot. And they do exactly the same here, mostly. But what is nice is the actual fantastical elements of this, where every court has its own elemental environment. They don't play with it much, you don't learn the mechanics, it's just something that happens, but there is like a volcano one, with the lands all moving up and down. It seems incredibly unbalanced, it doesn't make sense. It's fun though, I like to watch that. My favorite game of football is Mario Strikers Charged. Because, of course it is, I love even just the electric force field. If I could watch Rocket League in real life, I'd rather that than any other ball game, you know? That at least is a nice extension of an otherwise classic basketball movie. And similarly, the fact that they're all animals is nice. They play around with it slightly. The horse villain becomes a horse sometimes, and that's incredibly creepy, but at least makes them more interesting. Now, there is the other elephant in the room with a world about every different animal and talking about prejudices that Zootopia tries to cover and, flubs but does alright. And in this movie, they don't really address it at all. There is no conflict between predators and prey, that's fine. There is no conflict between bigs and smalls either. There's nothing societal. All there is smalls can't ball. That's it. You can't be too small to play the game, because it's a general genetic disadvantage. And that's it. They don't cover more, and they don't do more with it either. There's so much narrative in the underdog beating the odds, right? And even if it is a matter of they are physically less able than the others, but through pure skill and mental ability they overcome those hurdles, that's really satisfying. That's kind of what they do. It's not. The GOAT is perfect already. Immediately, every time they hit the hoop, every time they have to do a thing, they do it brilliantly. There is no hurdle to get over other than they have to practice against bigs now. And then they can, and then they do. There's even a whole emotional catchphrase that this goat is going to change the game. That's the thing his mother said back in a flashback. He's not just gonna play the game, he's gonna change the game. He doesn't change the game. He produces one statistic. How many small champions have there been? Now one. He won. And then it cuts to the credits. Hey there, thank you for making it to the halfway mark of this video. Come subscribe if you haven't already for more new movie reviews. We'll be covering all the new 3D animations coming out this year, including Pixar's Hoppers next month. Another one like this, so I sense. So stick around if you're interested for more, but let's get to the second half of this video. With a catchphrase like that, I thought it was gonna be that they genuinely change the shape of how the game continues. Now there will be a new era of smalls playing the games, whether they're in their own league or try to hit the big league. Since one person did it already, they could inspire the next generation, you know? No, it's still Smalls can't ball, but this one Small can. And then, you know what I mean? Like, that would be narratively satisfying. He changed the game. The most you get is in the final game, some Smalls show up to watch. And even then, I think it's 1, maybe 2. Incredible. What a game changer. The demographics slightly changed. You know what I mean? I would say here's a spoiler warning, but like, there is no spoilers to be had. You know it already. The closest thing to emotional weight that they almost try is the fact that there is a mother figure involved, right? You see her in the flashback sequence, you don't see her in the modern day. You know what the reveal is. They don't really touch on it. It's like they're avoiding doing anything serious or emotional to be extra kiddly, to not even address, like, you know what I mean? The mum dies off screen. The mum is described as just getting sick. She has 2 lines that I think she repeats, and that's about it. You know, it's like, oh, I love you. You're going to change the game. And that's it. Now, it is a motivation. Will has a photo of her that he walks around with. But even with it doing so many standard cliches, they don't do the most beloved one of having some apparition of his mother watching him in the final game. When you have these slight beats of, oh, our friends, our small people are in the audience, except the best friends who were never invited to get a ticket, even when they specifically asked at one point, never happens, screw them, I guess. There's not even a moment of in the final moment, you know, they're in slow-mo time, they're about to hit the winning score, he sees someone in the corner, thinks it's his mother and sees his mother watching, or sees someone like his mother and himself as a child, thinks it's them, and then it turns into the next generation. None of that. The most beloved emotional swing of storytelling? No, it's just neutral. It's fine, you know? It's a good movie. It's just not anything more than that. It's a standard family film that could have been better, but visually a treat. I almost feel like, maybe this is a hot take about this movie, it's a shame that the Sony animators put the time into this. They're putting in such fantastic, talented work for a story that's just not trying. Whilst at the same time, I think there's a lot of good potential with this story and a lot of good that could come out of it, especially because culturally, it's meant to be at least a little bit reflective of African American culture too, with it very much touching on themes of poverty, community, and general basketball. They obsess over Jordans at one point, which is very much not a British thing, so I was like, wow, cool, shoes. You know, it's nice to see a story reflective in a way you don't normally see on the big screen, but also they just pasted over every character as an animal, so it's not really full representation either. So it's just, you know, Now, I've been rambling a lot about the concept and the GOAT itself, but actually this movie is meant to be a ensemble cast. It's all about teamwork, the classic moral that they lay on incredibly thick anyway. And with it, there's a few other team members. The main one is actually Jet, who's dealing with being a little bit past her prime and trying to keep the status that she has. You know, she learns teamwork at the end, and the others learn their own mental problems to get through things. You know, one needs to be more protective, as if every member of the team is actually their child, and another one needs to be less anxious and just take the dive. That's it. You know, they just have to... They have a training montage to get over their own mental afflictions. And then also Will Harris, the GOAT, just has to practice against a big. And then suddenly, they're the best in the game. It's, you know, fine. They're standard classic characters. They're pokes at gentle parenting, though they removed the line gentle parenting in this movie. But something I will say, though, is actually, with it being such a 2018 movie, with it being so old school, classic, boring, and neutral, they do bring back a character archetype that I absolutely adore and didn't realize I missed in the form of best boy in the movie, Modo. Ah, that creepy, weird lizard guy, he is the creepy, weird, quirky guy character trope. You know, like Madagascar has the penguins, and then you have Rico just doing some random bat crazy stuff. That's who Modo is. And the voice acting behind him perfectly executes his character. One of my favorite lines in this film is, Modo is an icon. Like, stellar voice acting, stellar execution. The visuals on him are great, and I like the writing for his dialogue as well. It's just the concept really lets it down everywhere. This feels like some sort of checkbox movie playing it as safe as possible while they're on top to get safe numbers. And clearly it works, according to other reviews I've seen on Rotten Tomatoes and box office reports. They're doing well on numbers and on money because it's just simple, fine, and safe. It's an original project with no risk to it, and admittedly, a lot of very shallow brandings in there. With it being a Sony movie, they really ham-fist the presence of PlayStation 5s in a way they literally interrupt a scene to say, hey, you want to play this game on my PlayStation 5? And then it shows the whole opening on the screen. Like, it's... Come on, man. You're at the top of your game and you're doing this shallow crap. Also, a couple of very obvious car branding references chucked in there. Just full-screen logos. You know, it's just... gets a bit of an ick, you know? I'm happy to see the voice actor of the landlord back again. Forgotten his name, but I know his face. Appeared in Space Jam, appears in this movie. Speaking of Space Jam, they also just super shallowly rip it off with the same music choice in there, which otherwise I wouldn't mind, but it's literally used in the same way. It's like, here's the final basketball game, big score, big likes, big court. The same music track as, like, it's literally just a Space Jam opening. Like, that's not a homage, that's a rip-off. It's just... narratively, you've seen it before. I wouldn't recommend it for anyone that's not a child. And that's a shame, because animation is for everyone. But this is for those that haven't seen anything before. If it shows up on TV for free, feel free to watch it. It's good, it's fine, nice to see it done with a new cast of characters. But it's just the same cliche tropes. Not as bad as it could have been. They easily could have done the whole, the goat person's getting overconfident and now everyone hates him for pushing away his old friends. They don't do that. And that's really nice. But they don't do the best cliches either of his mum actually appearing in some form to get that emotional swell. The most you get is the team member who's a little past their prime being taken back to the goat's childhood restaurant cafe where they're surrounded by fans of the out-of-prime performer and gets a morale boost from being within a small community that loves her. And even then, they don't do it emotionally, they just do it flat. The fact that I've managed to ramble about this movie for 23 minutes is honestly a blessing, because there's really not much else to say. It's just flat, standard, cliched, and so below what Sony Pictures Animation could really do. But if it pays the bills to cover the next thing, unfortunately Netflix took most of the profits out of K-pop Demon Hunters, hopefully they could use the profits from this movie to make one that actually counts for something, you know? Actually pushes the bar some more. But the animators, and the voice actors, and some of the concepting work, absolutely stellar, somewhere in the background of this shallow, surface-level movie. For now, though, my name's been Daz. Thank you very much for reaching the end of this video. Do tell us your thoughts on GOAT. Did you see it? Is there a place for boring, neutral films? Kind of. I think there's a worthy discussion there. Helpful to show to kids, just not for us. And maybe it was never meant to be, but that's a shame. I'd be a bored-ass parent if I had to watch this with my child, you know? I'd love to hear all of your thoughts and more, but otherwise, I shall see you all in a little bit. Cheerio!